100,000 signatures, meaning it will be considered for debate in Parliament. The petition was posted in response to Mr. Trump's call for a temporary halt on Muslims entering the US. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump has been defending his comments on American television in an interview with ABC News' veteran broadcaster Barbara Walters. Senior Conservatives have defended the party chairman, Lord Feldman, who has been facing calls to resign over the way he handled allegations of bullying within the Tories' youth wing. It's been claimed that Lord Feldman was handed a dossier about the allegations 5 years ago, but he maintains he was unaware of them until this summer. The jury in the Hatton Garden jewel raid has heard that 2 of the men who've pleaded guilty to the burglary were also involved in 2 of the most notorious robberies of the 1980s. Daniel Sanford reports from Woolwich Crown Court. Now, this is Homs in northwest Syria, a city which, as these pictures show, has seen some of the worst fighting during the country's almost 5-year civil war. It was known as the cradle of Syria's revolution, where some of the first protests against President Assad were held. But today, under a ceasefire deal negotiated with the government and backed by the UN, rebel fighters are leaving the last district of Homs that was under their control. It means Syria's 3rd largest city is back in government hands after years of fighting. As the rebels leave, the first convoys of food aid in nearly a year are being taken into the neighbourhoods they held. From Homs, our chief international correspondent Lise Doucette reports. They're reporting from Homs. The Liberal Democrat MP for Orkney and Shetland, Alistair Carmichael, has survived a legal challenge against his election last May. 4 of his constituents had argued that he'd lied about the leaking of a memo during the general election campaign, but 2 judges ruled that the MP's behaviour wasn't in breach of election law. Our correspondent Kevin Keane reports. The migrant crisis in Calais is putting the lives of British lorry drivers at risk, and not enough is being done to protect them, according to the Road Haulage Association. The government says it's working closely with the French authorities, and a new secure zone at Calais for UK-bound lorries will be completed by spring 2016. Our correspondent Seema Katecha sent this report. Social care providers in England are calling for an urgent meeting with the government after warning that measures announced in the spending review aren't enough to tackle a funding crisis in the sector. The Chancellor George Osborne told local authorities they can raise council tax by 2% to meet the growing cost of providing support for elderly and disabled people. Our social affairs correspondent Alison Holt reports. 2 weeks after becoming the new world heavyweight boxing champion, Tyson Fury has been stripped of one of his titles, is facing a police investigation over comments he made about homosexuality, and now growing calls for him to be removed from the shortlist for the BBC Sports Personality of the Year.